I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough. See what's next. Birds don't just fly. They fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No I won't leave, I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail.
Salutations, listeners, and welcome back to Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review, scrutinize, and analyze the award-winning hit animated film of 2016, Zootopia. And we are back here today with Minute 34. Gonna be a good one, from 3400 to 3459. But before that, let's not forget our introductions. My name is Simul, and I am joined here by my co-host.
Choco, and I'm very excited. Can you guess why?
Why are you excited?
I just came back from Disneyland, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I have been to Disneyland twice in my life, and you guys get to go all the time. My goodness. Well, we'll talk about that later, I suppose. Meh. But yes, this is Zootopia Minute, and we are on minute 34 of our film, and that's going to be from 3400 to 3459. And this is, hooray, at the beginning of a scene, finally. No weird cuts in the middle of a sentence here. Clawhauser gives Judy the case file on Emmett Otterton, who is missing. And this case file is horribly, horribly empty, but Judy finds a lead inside. In fact, yes, she thinks she spots Nick Wilde in a photo and goes off to confront him at the end of the minute. At the end of the minute, we hear her say, "I'd just like to ask you a few questions about a case." And that's where our minute ends. So yeah, not any awkward cutting off. It's not like the scene ended there, but we finally get like complete sentences all within 1 minute, which is a rare thing for us.
And it leads into a fantastic minute, which we'll be doing at BronyCon, and I'm excited about that minute because it has all my favorite scenes of this movie.
Yes. But you'll have to come to BronyCon to see that. Alrighty. So, really interesting minute. We get a look into the case of our missing otter, Emmett Otterton. And yeah, unfortunately, this case file is like one sheet of paper, and that's unfortunate for Judy.
It's good interactions between her and Clawhauser.
It is. I liked that too. I love his attitude. He always has such a positive attitude about his job. He's like, here you go, one missing otter case file. There you go. I'm so awesome. Judy opens it up, but it's empty. It's that one sheet of paper. And Clawhauser remarks about this, "Oh man, that is the tiniest case file I've ever seen. You got no witnesses."
He says you have no witnesses, no leads, and no other information, so...
Yeah, and yeah, no other information because you're not in the computer system yet. You can't even get at the resources the rest of us have. And Judy's ears droop at that last bit because, yeah, that sounds like it's gonna suck for her. Yikes.
And he said, I hope you didn't bet your career on this.
Yes, that's right. I hope you didn't stake your whole career on this case. Well, little does he know that's exactly what Judy did in the last minute. She has only 48 hours to find this otter, or she resigns. She really was willing to stake a lot on that, like not knowing how well it was going to go. It's either confidence or desperation, one of the two.
I say she's a dumb bunny.
Yeah, well, we knew that already.
Alright, well, this minute made me very, very thirsty for Mexican Coke in the bottle.
I love Mexican Coke in a bottle. We have Clawhauser slurping annoyingly out of a bottle as Judy's trying to look around. But let's take a look at that case file real quick, because yeah, very limited information, basically just information about the missing person. It's Emmett Otterton. It includes his species, which is interesting. They give you the Latin name there for otters, I guess, is what that is.
So that means Romans existed in this world?
Yeah, the ancient, furry Romans. Well, yeah, they'd be actual wolves. Like Romulus and Remus would just be straight up wolves.
Yes.
Raised by a human. Or something weird like that. And that's where animal consciousness came from. That's why animals are sentient now. The wolves were raised by a human. I think we just cracked it. This whole universe. Man, Furry Rome would be an interesting place.
It's just called Furry Rome and Furry New York.
Rome.
And we just put furry as an adjective in front of everything.
Yeah, like Ponyville. It's like, okay, as opposed to what? No, this is just Furry Rome.
Well, look, one thing about the case file, which I thought was interesting, is that he lives in the Rainforest District.
You're right. I didn't pay much attention to that, but that seems like not quite the right place for an otter to live.
Yeah, so he lives on 2347 Riverbrook Lane, Rainforest District, and his occupation's a florist. He is 2 feet and 4 inches, 21 pounds, male, or identifies as male. There's no leads, no witnesses, no evidence, and there's only one picture of his last known sighting. And this missing mammal report was filed by Officer Bob Trumpet.
Yes, who I figure is an elephant. That's gotta be it.
You really think so? Not trumpet or swan? Well, I guess no avian, so yeah.
There
okay,
are no
it's
avians. It's a mammal inclusion program only. We know this. Yeah, so very sparse case file. The biggest helpful thing in there really is that last known sighting photo, which, okay, come on. For a last known sighting photo, that is like the best photo you could have hoped for. Judy immediately sees in there, Clawhauser's being rather annoying, slurping at this bottle of soda, which, by the way, another pun, Cub soda. It's a bottle of Cub soda.
Oh, God.
One of those green glass bottles. Takes that out, says, hey, can I just borrow this for a second? Thanks. Piers uses it as a magnifying glass, which I immediately had an issue with because no, that would not work.
Yeah, and I've never seen a glass bottle so clean without the legal guff at the bottom.
Yeah, you're right. It was... Well, it's club soda, right? So maybe it's clear. It's not like a Coke or something. I don't know. But the bottom of a
they
Coke...
normally print all the copyright, blah, 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 on the bottom. And it's
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, that one's nice and just perfectly smooth and
I never
there's nothing
noticed
there.
that.
It's like recycle now and all that stuff.
So that little action there, her taking the bottle and using it as a magnifying glass, those types of things in movies like this interest me because it's not as if that's a key element of the plot, that she takes this bottle and uses it as a magnifying glass. That's like a little fluff detail thing, right? So someone, when they were writing the overall story, said, what can we do to make this scene look a little bit more interesting? It's like, well, let's have Clawhauser sipping a soda, and that's what she uses as the magnifying glass. Like, who came up with that?
Well, I think she was pretty rude to take it from him.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm surprised that as he was sipping, that little dribbles of soda did not just spill everywhere, because you're never going to get the bottom of that soda bottle perfectly cleaned and sipped up.
I know.
There's going to be a little bit of residue on the straw.
I've tried. We've all tried that, to slurp every last bit, but you
Yeah.
always end up with that sound all the way to the very end. There's no way to get just air out of there.
Yeah,
it's
so
surprising.
she was very rude to take the soda from him, I'm going to be honest. But she's using it in an interesting way, like you said, kind of spice up the scene, and she's able to get a closer look of a cute little otter wearing glasses, licking a little familiar-looking popsicle.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, this is like the gold mine of last known location photos. You couldn't have hoped for a better photo. We see a popsicle. Judy says, hold on, that popsicle looks familiar. And we as the audience, of course, all recognize it as the very same popsicle that Nick Wilde had been selling as part of his little con scheme earlier in the film.
I was also selling popsicles as a con scheme, but I'll tell you
Yeah, right. That's so funny. Goodness. Well, even luckier for Judy, we not only see the popsicle, but her suspicions are confirmed when, at the very edge of the photo, we see Nick's tail sticking at the edge. So Nick was there passing by at
that
this
could have
last
been any
known
fox,
location.
come on.
No, it was Nick. It was Nick. I don't know. Do you
It
see his
could've been any
clothes at
fox.
all? Do you see his clothes at all, or like just his tail? I think you see part of his arm.
Yeah, you see part of his clothes, but I mean, come on, that Hawaiian shirt is so popular. I saw like 50 of them at the last con I was at.
I know.
Everyone
What's with
was
all the
wearing that
foxes
shirt.
wearing green Hawaiian shirts? It's like
I know.
super popular for some reason.
So, also, the fact that you were commenting how this is a great last known sighting photo, it also kind of brings up the kind of creepy Big Brother-like atmosphere of this world.
Right. I was wondering that too. Is this CCTV that we're getting this from?
But then I realized, wait, that is our world. We are living in the world where, you know, like 10 years ago, we'll be afraid of such a situation, Big Brother looking out and having cameras everywhere. But we live in a world where it's like traffic cams are everywhere, security cams are everywhere. Even if there are no traffic cams or security cam, there's now dashboard cams and everyone has a cell phone. So everyone's recording. And
Oh, yeah.
so it's just like, yeah, you can't get away from it. And it's funny to think about how the writers of the last few decades were envisioning such a horrific dystopian future where everyone's under tight-knit security, and we are living in that world now, and we're just like oblivious to it.
Right. It's, you know, it's like the whole Patriot Act thing. It's like we're sacrificing a bit of freedom to be a bit more safe. Like, is it really worth it in the end? Well, this is the interesting thing. We presume that this is indeed CCTV that they're getting this image from.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that a CCTV image of this otter exists. What might be surprising is that they found it. They knew where to look and they were able to find this last known image of the otter. So
Which is very creepy.
Maybe that was just a part of the neighborhood where they know he is often. Maybe it's nearby where he works and they figured this would be a good place to look. So it's not as if they've put absolutely no effort into this case. It is a small case file, but someone went and found that photo.
Well, actually, now that you mentioned that Bob Trumpet could have been an elephant, it would actually make sense if elephants don't forget that an elephant would be watching all these video cameras. So if such a, hey, we are missing an otter, do you remember the last time you saw him? It's like, yeah, I saw him at this point in this video. That would be like the perfect.
Really interesting. Like all the mall cops in this universe are elephants because they take in every bit of information and they'll remember it perfectly.
Paul
That's
Blart
hilarious.
Cop, but elephant.
Oh my gosh, that was a strange movie.
I never seen the movie, but I've seen reviews of it. But he kind of looks like an elephant. So
yeah, it's not a movie you need to see. But that is a good point. And I think we've talked about this before, whether certain animals would be more suited for certain types of jobs. What I want to know is how come in our earlier minute, all of those lemmings were all like businessmen or something requiring a suit like that.
I don't know. Is that the sheep culture? I don't know. I don't work in that business environment, so I wouldn't know what it's like.
Yeah. But you gotta think, we've talked about this many times on the show before, the different morphology all these animals have. They're gonna have unique challenges in their life, but they're also probably gonna have unique benefits. Things that they're particularly good at that no other species can do. So for elephants, maybe that's it. Although you'd also think for an elephant, maybe having a long trunk would help with a few things.
Yeah, like scooping ice cream or lifting up heavy boulders or something. I don't know.
Now, yeah, so these are the jobs we know that elephants have. Ice cream, salesman, and police officer.
Exactly.
And even if this one, Bob Trumpet, even if he's not an elephant, we know there was at least one other elephant, the elephant in the room earlier, whose birthday it was. Yes, Francine. Happy birthday. Love that scene. But yeah, so we are very fortunate, no matter what your opinion of CCTV may be, it's very good that Judy had this available. She was not herself able to get into this computer system, but someone did at least a little bit of the work for her, so she was able to get this photo. And presumably she's able to find out exactly where it was taken, because she then goes out into the world. And actually, no, maybe it's not where it was taken, she just knows that it was Nick. How did she find Nick? That's a good question. Because this is what we see next in the minute. She goes out and finds Nick Wilde.
They have a special connection with each other. That's why. They could find each other in the darkest of times. The light shines for each other. I don't know. I think she's good at tracking people down. I think once she knows his little hustle, she knows where to find him.
Yeah. Well, and it's so... I have an interesting point to make here. This very next scene we have at the end of this minute is switching to... Now we're following Nick Wilde. Nick is pushing around baby Toot Toot, who we know is not a baby, in this cart. And this is where Judy finds him as she pulls up in her little police car, her traffic cop car. Now, here's what I want to know.
Yes.
The cover has already been blown. Little Toot Toot is an adult fennec fox.
Yeah.
And yet Nick is pushing him in this cart. What's going on? Are they... What reason is there for him... Do you see where I'm getting at? What reason is there for this fox to be in there if they're not working on a con at that moment?
Well,
like
maybe
they're off
he's
shift.
Just... Yeah, maybe they're trying to get from one place to... Maybe they are on their way to another con. And the only person who knows that that's not Toot Toot is Judy. So there's no reason for him to not be in that cart, you know?
But he has that van. He drives that van that...
I think they're
on the side.
Maybe they're getting ready. Maybe they're going back to the ice cream store, or they're going to another ice cream store.
Maybe, I don't know, or maybe that's just what Toot Toot likes. That's Toot Toot's.
Well, what's interesting that you brought that point is Nick refers to Judy as Officer Toot Toot. So
yeah,
the character we've been calling Toot Toot the entire time, that title has now been passed over to Judy. It's like
probably because it's what Nick remembers her for. Doesn't even remember her name, perhaps.
Yeah.
Just you're that one chick, the bunny rabbit chick with the Toot Toot
crazy
thing.
Yeah, it's like the title, the Doctor. It's passed on from one animal
well,
to another.
because that character, the fox, even like masquerading as a baby, we don't know his actual name, do we?
Not at this moment, no.
I don't think so. Well,
so we are referring to him.
But the thing
as
is, Toot Toot was also never his name. Toot Toot was just a thing that Judy heard and then like applied to him. He said Toot Toot, you know, the honk with the little elephant costume, and Nick said, hey, give him a little Toot Toot or whatever. It was never the character's name. Judy, when she sees them later, is like, hey, little Toot Toot. But it was never the character's name.
Yeah, it's something that we and Judy applied, and now it's being applied to Judy. from Nick's perspective.
But yeah, that's still just something weird I noticed about this scene is, okay, that's a little odd. Like, you're not really working on a con, but just in your spare time, you like to be pushed around in a pram.
They could be on their way to a con, because let's say they were, right before the elephant. Okay, so let's say it's doing a similar hustle to the elephant ice cream parlor, right? It would be weird if they all of a sudden get out of their van dressed up as a baby and then walked into there. It would be easier if you walked a few blocks, parked the van a few blocks away, so there's no connection, and then pushed the baby towards the ice cream parlor. So at least for 2 blocks, people just saw nothing but a father pushing his baby son.
Yeah, excuses. Listen, Choco, I don't judge, all right? They can be whatever they want to be into. I'm not looking on that with disdain.
What, you think he's a baby fur?
Everything is except... We don't judge in Furry Rome. Furry Rome is all about that hedonistic lifestyle. So,
did you see that Doctor Who episode that took place in Roman era
Pompeii?
Britain? No, they won from this season where they took place in Roman era.
No,
Britain.
I haven't seen any of Capaldi. Literally none of Capaldi. So that's also why I don't really care about the female Doctor. Is like, I'm so behind anyway.
No, they had a off tangent, but they had a really, really good scene where they landed in ancient era London in the Roman period.
Londinium.
And the Roman Legion there, it was a mixture of both Roman soldiers, but also people with darker skin, because the Roman Empire was actually really diverse at that time. And the captain of that Roman Legion was kind of hitting on the Bill Potts, the most recent companion. But Bill was saying, sorry, I'm not interested in men. And the Roman officer was like, oh, that's okay. Oh, you only like one gender. Oh, that's fine. And then the Roman officer was like, oh, you're playing it straight and narrow. So for him, from the Roman perspective, because it was all about free love and there was no...
Right,
at that time,
he's the minority now.
Yeah, she's the minority now. So he thought it was interesting that she is kind of the conservative one, that she only likes one gender, while all the other Roman officers are kind of laughing that they liked all genders except for one of their comrades.
That's okay. We accept all types. It's okay if you only like one kind. Everyone has their preference. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically something
funny.
like that. But no, it was interesting, and we're not kink shaming, but it's funny because when you brought up, I didn't even make that connection that you're trying to make the joke that Tutu and Nick are in a...
That's the whole thing I was saying from the beginning.
Baby fur or diaper fur situation, which I just found out about the other night. Because apparently I was reading some furry drama of someone who broke up with her boyfriend who used to be in diaper fur or baby fur, which I guess is a thing. And I think they're outside the furry fandom. There's been like TLC episodes about men who like dressing
which,
as babies,
always take those with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
it's along the same line as like the CSI episode about furries. Like, there's some things.
It's modern freak shows,
Yeah.
The TLC is basically the modern freak show.
Yeah. But that's okay.
All right. No, we're not kink shaming, but
we accept you. Furry Rome accepts you as you are. But that's basically kind of where the minute ends here. Judy pulls up, says, hey, I just want to talk to you about a case. And that's where we leave off. So our very next minute, we're going to get to hear a little bit of that interaction, which is great because Nick is back and Nick is an awesome character. And I love when these two interact.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And it's going to be a fantastic minute because the next minute's all my favorite scenes. But yeah, before then, anything else about this minute you really like?
There's that mouse car at the very end that's like trying to get around Judy. And again, we've been talking about how dangerous it must be to have these tiny rodent cars on the same road as giant elephant cars, But no, that's just an interesting thing I noticed, I suppose.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that'll do it for the minute, I think. So I want to hear all about D23.
So speaking of Nick and popsicles and cons, I was cosplaying as Nick Wilde at D23 Expo. D23 Expo is Disney's official convention. It's held every 2 years. It's the one convention where they make all their big announcements of their animated Pixar live action movies, as well as their new video games and things they're doing at their parks and resorts.
Yeah. So was that at the Anaheim Convention Center?
It's at the Anaheim Convention Center, which is...
Because that would make a lot of sense. It's right across the street from Disneyland. Yeah,
it's about 2 or 3 blocks from Disneyland. And it was fantastic. And I want to give a shout out to my friends from the... my friends from the pony artist community, Rulu and her sister, who goes by the name Shimmer in the fandom, as well as our other friend, Master Tortilla, who does fantastic pony plushies. But Rulu, she and her sister were both cast members at Disney World, And Merlo still is a cast member with Disney currently, and she was able to get us a lot of cool cast member discounts. So we got to go to the parks for free the Thursday before the con and the Monday after the con. And she also got us some great discounts, so we were able to stay at the Disneyland Resort, specifically at the Disneyland Hotel, which was my first time staying at a Disney property, which was just fantastic. And they had the pineapple Dole Whip at the concession stands in the hotel. So it's the only place outside the park to get pineapple Dole Whip.
Oh, wow.
Which was fantastic. So yeah, it was a fun convention. Actually, there's a lot to talk about. So would you like me to go day by day, or how would you like to do this?
Sure, whatever you want to do. I know you're in there partially to try and get a peek into some of the Zootopia stuff that was happening.
Yes. So Zootopia, it was a movie that just won, the Academy Award and a bunch of other prestigious awards. So you assume they will have a lot more Zootopia stuff, but no, there was actually only one Zootopia panel the entire event, and it was
it's like
Friday morning.
There hasn't been as much merch as you would expect.
Yeah, actually, there was all the Zootopia stuff I bought were from secondhand vendors. In the Disney stores itself, there was no official Zootopia merch for sale anywhere. Not even like a little keychain or sticker. Aside from some prints, that's about it. But actually, let me talk to you about the first day. So Zootopia panel was at about 9:15 Friday morning. We woke up at about 5:30, got to the convention center at about 6-ish. And from 6 till about 9:30, we waited in a 3.5-hour line just to get inside the convention center.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't that we were waiting for the convention center was open. We were waiting in a line just to get into the convention center. So by the time we got into the convention center, and we already had our badges. Like, this is not a con where you go and pick up your badge. They mailed the badges to you beforehand. So we didn't even need to worry about it.
Was it an occupancy issue? Like, they couldn't have too many people in the building at the same time?
No, I don't think so. I think it was mostly they were trying to shuffle people in because there's a long line outside. People were waiting outside the convention center the night before. It was just crazy. People were lining up like 10 p.m. the night before. And some of these lines for panels got so long, they closed them up at 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
But I think it was also security because they need to check all the bags as you come in. So the security was a little bit...
that'd do it, yeah.
Cluttered. But it took 3.5 hours. So basically, we called it LineCon, and you'll learn why. Not just 3.5 hours to get in. So we missed the Zootopia panel, but some of the folks at ZNN were able to record it, and I'm hoping to have them on for a future episode so they could talk about the panel. But they have the panels on their on YouTube if you're interested to check that out. So I missed the Zootopia panel, but because of that, the first thing we did was run to the big Disney store because that's where all the limited edition merchandise was being sold, and there was a pair of Mulan dolls that I really wanted to get, like limited edition Mulan dolls. Like they only made about 500 of these. So right as we got in, we ran into the expo area. We ran to there are 3 big Disney stores. It's called the Disney store, which has limited edition dolls and stuff like that. There's a Disney Dream store that sells a lot of convention exclusive memorabilia, as well as things that are for certain anniversaries, like it was the Hercules 20th anniversaries, Epcot 35th anniversary and whatnot. Even though there's no Hercules merch, that was also another thing gripe I had as a Hercules fan. And as for a movie that was celebrating its 20th anniversary, there was no Hercules merch at all. They only had one panel we'll talk about later. And then the other store is called Mickey's of Glendale. Mickey's of Glendale, also known as the Walt Disney Imagineering store. It's a store that only Imagineers could shop at. But this is the one time where the public could shop at the Imagineering store. So you could buy t-shirts and books and like paper that says Imagineering on it. But the Disney store is the big store, and we rushed there right away. And it took another 3.5 hours to wait in that line just to get into the Disney store, which is just insane.
That's ridiculous.
And so the Mulan doll, which was only 500 of them, completely sold out hours before I even got in the store. And it's funny because it's kind of like the park system. They have fast passes just to get into some of these stores as well. And there's a lot of people complaining online. And then the next store we went to was the Disney Dream store, and that was a little bit shorter. It was about 2 hours to get in. But everyone was so upset with the lines. The last few years, D23 has had issues with lines. And it's funny because a lot of people consider Disney the pioneer of managing crowds and long lines. They were the ones who pioneered this at the park, and this con is one of the worst at organizing its lines.
Wow.
And it's funny because I was in 3 different Facebook groups to kind of keep in touch with up-to-date information about the expo. Basically, by the first night, every single post in the Facebook group were all salty messages about how much they hated the con, how much the lines were annoying, how much people were waiting and waiting and could not get in. And the few people who said, no, actually it was pretty good. I only waited an hour. They got instantly attacked saying, oh, you must have cut it. How dare you, blah, blah, blah. And it was just, it was not the
I don't get
magic.
that. You must have been cutting. Like, no, it's a line. That means it necessarily has a front, you know? There's just the people that were there earlier.
Well, I think we were there pretty early. We got there about 6 a.m., but there were people who were waiting at 10 p.m. the night before. And if you're willing to fork over $2,050, if you were the first 300 people, you could have got a sorcerer's pass, and the sorcerer pass would give you access to go into the convention center Thursday, right an hour before everyone else at this con. And actually, that's the reason why we got the so obviously I did not have $2,000 for the sorcerer's pass, but the next best thing was the gold member club membership for the official Disney club. I paid about $70 for the gold membership because last year all gold members got to go into the convention floor an hour before everyone else. They did not do it this year, so I bought a membership, which didn't really help me at all. But I found out that there is a really it's a system that I don't see too much at the PonyCons I've been at because it's a very different environment. But a lot of these people who fork over the $2,000 for the Sorcerer's Pass, they're scalpers, or they basically make all their income just from this con. So they go in there, they buy all the exclusive merchandise, and they sell it for 200 to about 500% markup.
Yeah,
so
I hate
though
that kind of thing.
Disney tries to curb this, they limit only one item per person per day, but a lot of the times they're able to get a lot of tickets for their family and friends and buy up all these things. So for example, the Mulan doll would have cost about $130. It's easily going for sale online for $600 to $800.
Yeah, of course.
So that's the type of situation we were in, and you could see who these people were because there's a lot of people just sitting at the side of the convention center with all these boxes of all these stuff that they're never going to play with or collect, and they're just going to resell it.
Yeah, so scalping and all that kind of thing, that's a big issue here in Seattle with PAX Prime, which happens here. It started to happen more recently too with Emerald City Comic Con. But like, it's honestly one of the most satisfying things in the world to me is to see a scalper that's going home on the last day and he still has a ton of unsold badges. It's like, yeah, good. That's what you get. Yeah. It's really unfortunate, but the interesting thing is, so PAX has been trying to fight back against that kind of thing. Inside the city of Seattle, ticket scalping is actually illegal. Like, it is not allowed by law. And so what PAX has done before as well is they have teamed up with local law enforcement to go out on what are basically scalping stings, where they'll contact someone over Craigslist or whatever the heck else it is, say, yeah, I'll buy it, and then when they meet up, the person gets arrested for scalping tickets.
That's pretty cool.
PAX seems to take it fairly seriously, and it's a pretty intense thing to happen, right, over scalped tickets. But yeah, it's one of the worst things about cons these days are having to deal with ticket scalpers.
Yeah, especially the big ones like San Diego Comic-Con and stuff.
Yeah, the really big ones will do that.
But surprisingly, what were called scalpers at this con were actually not reselling tickets. I don't think I did see any ticket resales at this con specifically. Those wouldn't actually be too hard because they mail the badges to you beforehand, and in the badges there's no like security features like holograms and stuff. Anyone could just make a copy of
weird.
it.
Yeah,
that's actually what I did. I ended up making a photocopy of one and laminating one, and that was my main badge in case I lost my real badge. So I was using that for most of the con.
That's so. The badge you're wearing is a fake one, and you just have. See, that's hilarious to me. But honestly, it brings up another question too: is a lot of these larger cons have a decision to make over whether tickets can be transferable or not. Emerald City, the badges don't have names. PAX, the badges don't have names. SakuraCon, which is like the next biggest convention after Emerald City in Seattle, it's a big anime convention. To get your badge, you have to go to a booth and show photo ID because your badge has your name on it, and it's in their policy. You're supposed to also have your ID on you at all times while you're in the convention.
Yeah.
At night when it's just the raves going on, they'll actually check your badge and ask you to show ID to get in to make sure it's not just some other person's badge that you found or whatever. And that does solve the scalping problem. But so the question then for these big events is whether they want to do that or not, because then it becomes a bigger logistical issue getting people their badges that have their actual names on them. And, there's pros and cons of each. Cons.
Well, the badges I did have my name, and the only time I would have to show my ID card as well as my Disney Gold Club membership is for gold so gold members didn't get in early like they did last year, but for this year, like the last con, they were able to get special seating for some of the panels. And the only time I really took advantage of my gold membership was to get into some of the panels. And that's the time when I had to show the badge, the ID, and whatnot. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. And when you think about Disney things, you think about the Disney cast members, you think about the Disney hospitality and stuff. It seems like most of the people who were working the con were people hired by the convention center and like an outside security force, because there was not that much of the Disney magic, and that was a really, really big complaint, how rude some of the people were, saying, line is closed, go away. And though, on the other hand, there were some people who were obviously Disney cast members because they're really nice and really, really peppy. But I'm actually just impressed how much things are going from. So I'm not even talking about the limited edition dolls. Like, they were handing out free pins. If you took a picture in front of a Honda car, Honda would give you like a free mini pin.
Oh, nice.
Or if you went to the video game panel, you'll get like a Star Wars video game poster. And then within minutes, I would see these sold online for like $30 on eBay. And it's just like, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was like one of the days of the con, and the other days, Saturday was probably one of the worst days because it was, again, more lines, more waiting. And I just actually missed out on all the good panels and stuff, and wasn't able to meet up with some friends for some of the other panels. Sunday was a little bit better.
How many days is the event? Like, is it a 4-day thing, or?
No, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was wearing my Nick Wilde cosplay on Friday and Sunday, and I got a lot of people saying nice comments. They were taking pictures, even the security guards and cast members were like loving the outfit. And I think it was because I was only Nick Wilde who was hustling the popsicles. So I had a little basket with me with all these popsicles I made out of clear plastic. And I wasn't really selling them. But on the last day, people were really wanting to buy them. I'm like, well, I'm not going to need this cosplay after this. So I just ended up selling the popsicles for like $5 each. I was actually hustling popsicles in a con situation. So there we go. That's the tie back. But no, the only Zootopia thing was there was a statue of Nick and Judy in the animation Pixar section. And that was about it. But the next day was really a fantastic situation because we got to go to both Disneyland and California Adventure. And we were really worried we would miss Nick. We were planning to get to California Adventure at about 2 p.m. because my friends, this is the two who are cast members at Disney World. This was their first time in Disneyland. So they really wanted to do all the things in Disneyland. But we got to California Adventure like an hour late. Oh my gosh,
it's so exactly the same as Magic Kingdom.
Actually, they were surprised how different a lot of things were. Like, a lot of the things were designed by Walt.
If you work there, those types of differences would become super obvious. And it must be kind of weird. Actually, that must be weird for them because you almost feel like you are at work, like you're where you go every day, but the subtle differences would throw you off and mess with your head.
I think for them, it was less crowded, and yeah, it did. Some of the rides seemed much longer, and some of them had a lot more cool original stuff, while Magic Kingdom did seem more hashed. And for me, I only been to Magic Kingdom once. I only been to Disneyland. I think that was my third time going to Disneyland. And yeah, I could see the different. Disneyland, I think, is a little more spunk and personality than Disney World.
Well, it did come first.
But so we rushed over to California Adventure. We didn't know where Nick was. Nick and Judy were not listed on the meet and greet, so we're worried that the one day we were at the park, because another friend of mine, a Master Tortilla, who was with us, he's also a big Zootopia fan, so that was like the one thing of the trip we wanted to do. So we asked the cast members, they're like, oh yeah, you probably missed Nick, and we were like really upset, but I ran to the area where the Nick meet and greet was, and I found like some of the ZNN guys I met at D23 Expo, and guess what? They're taking pictures of Nick and Judy. Apparently, I think it was either Chip or Dale, but one of the Chip or Dale characters wandered into the Zootopia section, and I think he was flirting with Judy, and the Nick character was just like, he was all upset, and he was just like sulking in the corner, and it was fantastic.
Does that mean it's canon?
Maybe, I don't know.
If the Disney cast member who's wearing the suit, does that dictate what canon is?
I'm not sure, but I do love that I do love that type of Disney atmosphere because we bumped into Darth Vader twice. We bumped into two Darth Vaders, which I thought was funny. And the Queen of Hearts was trying to run away. The evil queen from Snow White was running away from the Mad Hatter in Disneyland. And we were in the Queen's way, and she was like really rude to us. She was like, out of the way, you peasants and stuff. And she was like yelling at us, and we're just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
No, but Nick was there, and I was like, yes, so he's here. We can finally meet him. I tried to get in the line, and the cast member who was I guess the handler for Nick and Judy was like, sorry, the line is closed. You have to wait an hour for Nick to come back, and Judy's going to be off for the rest of her shift because he said she's doing ZPD paperwork, so that's her last time. So I was like upset because like, oh, I couldn't wait in line, and I had to wait another hour to see Nick. And just as the handler was telling me you can't see Nick sees me, and he starts waving towards me. So the Nick Wilde character starts waving towards me and he starts motioning for me to come over to him. And I'm like pointing at myself like, wait, me? And he's like, yeah. And it's like everyone's just recording this like spontaneously, which I thought was fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube now. And the cast member, I look at the cast member, I'm like, well, do I go to him? And the cast member just kind of shrugs. I was like, I guess he wants you. So I was like, so I walk up to Nick, and then like Judy gracefully bows out. Like she like kind of gives you a little bow and just walks away to one side as if we were like old friends meeting for the first time. I'm just like, I'm like a guy in my mid-20s, you know, I publish a book. I see myself as an adult, a professional, but I instantly turn into a giddy 4-year-old at that moment. I'm just like, I don't think of, you know, this as a guy in a suit or anything like that. It's like, it's Nick Wilde. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like...
Nick turns to that cast member who was turning you away. He's like, don't mess with me or my son ever again.
Yeah. But no, I was like flustered. I was like acting so silly, and I was like, oh my god, Nick. I'm just like, he shakes my hand, and I shake his hand back. I'm just like, oh my god, it's an honor to meet you. And I hug him, and I show him the popsicle. It's like, hey, see, I have
Incredible.
a popsicle too. And he's just admiring I was wearing my, I guess maybe the reason why he called me out was because I was dressed in the Nick Hawaiian shirt. I was wearing yellow orange jeans and a hat, and so he was like just looking over, pointing, saying how great that was, and I was just all excited. And yeah, it was a fantastic meet, and I was like, wow. And I even like 30 minutes afterwards, it was like I was still
glowing
on high
from it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I felt bad because he called me out, but my other friends wanted to meet him, so we had to wait for like another half hour for him to come back out. So but I was waiting there the entire time. I drew him a picture just to thank him, and when he came out the second time, it was just Nick. My friends got to meet him first, and then I was the last person in my group to meet him again. I'm gonna say, hey Nick, it was an honor to meet you again. Here's a picture, thank you. And Nick was really excited to see the picture. I'll post pictures. I think I retweeted pictures of that on the Zootopia Twitter already.
Think about it though. Is there any guarantee that was the same guy? Like it might have been someone else.
The cast member, the handler who I talked to. So the handler for, in fact, the third occasion where I saw Nick again, it was the same handler for all 3 occasions, and he kind of hinted to me it was the same Nick.
Nice.
And he was also the one who took the picture. He's like, we'll make sure to hang this up in our staff room. And it was a big honor. So I gave Nick a big hug, and it was weird because the entire trip I was joking, oh yeah, Nick and I, when we meet, we're going to make out and stuff. But like when I gave him a big hug, the Nick character seems like he's like presses his face really close like he was kissing, and then I hear kissing noises from inside the suit. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. So when it actually happens, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy playing Nick is actually making kissing noises, which at that point, I'm just like kind of taken back again. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but it was still
fantastic.
A surreal experience, and it was actually a good way to get a look out of the suit, because most furry suits, the eyes are in the actual eye holes or they're in their mouth. I think the visual perspective is from the nose, because the nose was made out of mesh, and that's the one thing they're looking through. But yeah, it was a fantastic experiment meeting Nick the second time. And the third time, it was like an hour later, the one friend wanted to see Judy, and he was hoping that Judy would be back out there, but it ended up being Nick again. And I had to take pictures for him. And it put me in the awkward position because I had a fantastic meet and greet with Nick 2 times. I saw him a third time. And Nick was just waving at me as I was taking pictures again. And the cast member was like, you know that Nick really likes you. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And so afterwards, we thanked the cast member who was the handler for Nick. And we I had some Zootopia badges, you know, the ones I sell at cons, and some Nick lanyards. Yeah. And I gave them to the cast member. I'm like, that was a magical experience. It really made my day. Please make sure to give whoever plays Nick and Judy these gifts. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a fantastic
And I saw
experience.
those photos too. You could tell You were in a place of great joy at that moment.
Yeah, I don't know why I felt like a kid. Like, I know rationally it's a guy in a costume and it's no big deal, but for me it was like the most fantastic event ever. And I also got lobster nachos to celebrate afterwards, which were fantastic.
Yum.
But yeah, that was it. And then just briefly shoehorned in later afterwards, we went to a dinner meet and greet where we had dinner and all you could eat buffet in Goofy's kitchen. And we also got to meet Goofy, Mickey, Minnie, Chip and Dale, and Pluto, who stopped by the tables. And all of them, like Chip and Dale especially, and Minnie and Pluto, all liked my Nick Wilde hat and outfit. And when I was telling them the story about meeting Nick, they were all giggling, and it was a really nice experience. So I never really had character meet and greets at Disney World. When we went, I didn't really care too much about meeting the characters, but for this situation I was up in the faces of a lot of these characters, and it was just a magical experience, and it was fun. And if you're a Zootopia fan, California Adventure is the only place for you to meet Nick and Judy. You can't even do that in Disney World, so make sure you go out there and meet Nick and Judy, because it's a fantastic magical experience.
Yeah, I gotta go back one day. Haven't been out there for a long time to Disney.
When we finish this podcast, we're going to celebrate with a trip out there.
All right.
I'm
looking forward.
Sorry I rambled on a little bit, but I finally got to meet my fox husband.
That's worth it. It's an important event in Zootopia Minute history that we had to document. All right, well, I think we're just about out of time for this one, but awesome story. Again, guys, real quick reminder before we go that our next episode is going to be live from BronyCon. So if you're going to BronyCon, please just check us out. We don't know exactly what the time is yet, but by the time this is published, we may know, in which case we will make sure to add that to the description and probably the title card. So be on the lookout for that info. It'll be on our Twitter as well. If you did enjoy this episode of Zootopia Minute, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a follow on Twitter at Zootopia Minute, and anything at all you'd like to send us, reviews, positive, negatives, anything you want at all,
shipping
email
artwork.
us those things at zootopiaminute@gmail.com. Yeah, fan art too, that kind of thing is awesome. We love to see those sorts of things. All right, so that'll be it until BronyCon. Hope you guys have an awesome week.
Bye, and stay away from my fox husband.
Stay away.